Frank Skarren starts on Goblin Guide, and honestly, Emma, Burn has looked really good as of late in Modern.
Oh, Burn is nice, and I really like this black inclusion in this deck for things like Bump in the Night. We just see a lower-to-the-ground version of the deck than what we've been seeing before, right? Rather than trying to play all these powerful white cards, you're just overloading on 1-drops and trying to have a more consistent turn 4 kill.
Yeah, this is a deck that really got powered up with cards like Light Up the Stage and Skewer the Critics as possibilities here.
Oh, yeah.
And we see 4 of both.
Oh, yeah, they have both.
Yeah.
You don't play Bump in the Night unless you are positive you're about the Lava Spike life.
Pete down to 17. And I'm really excited. This is one of the decks that got an upgrade from Ravnica Allegiance. Now, even before that upgrade, this is a matchup that I thought was pretty reasonable for Burn.
Right. So both decks have a pretty similar clock. The deck is so redundant that a single piece of disruption is not always going to be good enough. And then Eidolon of the Great Revel is almost a main deck hate card when you play a bunch of things that just say the requirement to turn them on is casting a bunch of spells.
Lightning Axe pitching Arclight Phoenix is the play for Pete. And we will see Light Up the Stage here from Frank. Now, this is a card, because it's so new and modern, Pete actually kind of misplayed here.
Exactly. You shouldn't have taken that damage. Should have maybe just, not fetched on his opponent's turn.
Right, that's right, because normally there's this thing in Modern, you're saying, all right, I'll wait until my opponent's turn to fetch. Because of that, he turned on Light Up the Stage, the spectacle cost.
Exactly. Here in this case, it's just, maybe we need to be thinking a little bit more about how we're fetching. And Ingram here, what he should have looked to do is maybe just fetch on his turn, pass, and then if Skarren attacks with Goblin Guide, then you get it. The big issue with that play is it does kind of tell Skarren you're planning to kill that Goblin Guide as soon as it attacks, so Skarren may not have attacked.
Riftbolt suspended from Skarren. He has those cards, so Light Up the Stage, the spectacle card here from Ravnica Allegiance, is going to mean that Frank can cast these top 2 cards, these cards in exile, until the end of his next turn. The Red Divination, as this has been hyped as.
Oh, this card is very nice. And we can see it here up on the screen, just giving more fuel to the burn decks, which is all they kind of wanted. One of the ways this deck loses the game is just running out of things to do.
You mentioned the whole deck concentrated on 1-mana cards. Cards that have left, are Boros Charms, Skull Cracks. I believe the only 2-mana card still left in the deck is Eidolon of the Great Revel.
He also has Searing Blaze.
Okay, still has the 4 Searing Blaze.
But other than that, it's a 1-drop party. I really like holding this Light Up the Stage for a turn, like Skarren did, because it could have thrown off the spells that he's able to cast if he were able to flip, basically, with Riftbolt, you want to make sure that you are suspending those as soon as possible to cut off the cards that Ingram has access to try and kill you with, because Riftbolt does take that extra turn to come off suspend and actually shoot Ingram.
Life totals are 17 on Skarren's side and 14 on Ingram's. You see that Grim Lavamancer and Bump in the Night hanging out in exile on Frank's side. And I imagine he's just going to... Yeah, he'll cast both of them. Ingram down to 11. And that's just showing off really how this deck's been powered up. That is some impressive stuff from the Burn deck.
Yeah, think of it this way. Skarren's effectively cast 3 cards from his hand this game. He's played Riftbolt, he played Light Up the Stage, and he played Goblin Guide. Everything else has been from that first Light Up the Stage.
All right, Thought Scour to start for Pete Ingram. That is spell number 1. He milled over, looks like just 2 more spells, so 1 Arclight in the graveyard right now.
Hey, milling over a Gut Shot is worth something.
Yeah, it's not something you want to cast here. Faithless Looting, that finds a second Arclight Phoenix. Okay, all right.
Let's do this.
Love it. And you see that copy of, looks like Pyromancer Ascension. That's some technology here. We've seen that out of the Ross Miriam. We're starting to play that as well.
Correct. So that's one that we're seeing more in these decks when you're expecting games to go longer. And with Clark Clan Ironworks out of the format, then you can kind of expect at least a little bit the format to slow down some, and Pyromancer Ascension is great in those instances.
And a hard cast gut shot was the third card. That took down the Grim Lavamancer, and swinging in for 6 is Ingram, both players now at 11.
You don't really love paying 1 for a gut shot, but against Baron, it's better than paying 2, right?
Yeah,
1 is the
I
smaller
don't want to
number
pay
than
2 life. It was spell number 3, so it'll play here.
You do what you gotta do.
Yeah, you get pretty happy in the situation that you drew gut shot and it actually played. It did something in this matchup, which is more than it will most of the time.
I feel like it takes less for you to get happy. I just go, well, and, I kind of contemplate my life choices a little bit.
Bump in the night from Skarren, Ingram down to 8.
If you think about it, those Arclight Phoenixes are just recurring lava spikes, so this is just a lava spike fight, if we're being honest.
And speaking of the lava spike fight, Frank with a pretty big miss there. You see no land. He does have a copy of Searing Blaze in the hand. Wasn't able to convert it. It's no landfall for the turn.
Right. The nice thing here is, at least for Frank, if he doesn't have a land, that means his hand is full of gas.
Right. He has swing with the 2 Phoenix. Frank is down to 4.
That's
now,
not 3.
It's not 3. It does look like Ingram has that one of Is It Charm in his main deck that's in his hand right now, which is one of the... you give that card so much grief.
I do.
But this is a situation where it might be okay.
Listen. That is true.
See Lightning Bolt upstairs. Pete checks that counter, that Spell Pierce mode. Says, no, this one's fine.
So theoretically here, all Skarren needs to do is draw a land, right? So Ingram's now falling down to 5.
Right.
And Skarren has 3 cards in his hand. That's enough to get through 1 counter spell if he can just cast all of his spells.
He can cast them all, right? But with the mana, it's asking a lot. He'd have to have a 2 mana card, and then 2 1 mana cards to fight through it.
Right.
Which I guess the deck's all 1 mana cards, so what does that even mean?
Oh, and an uncomfortable card in his hand there is it looks like one of his 1-drops is actually Shard Volley.
Right.
And that takes away a mana the following turn, so that actually reduces the number of cards you can cast through these counter spells.
This is neat. Here's Monastery Swift Spear from Skarren. It's going to attack. Pete says, okay.
Does it count as a spell? Right now it doesn't.
No, I mean, you can go for the lethal Shard Volley here, right? But then that Is It Charm, the deal 2 mode will hit the Swift Spear.
So you're kind of stuck in a, screwed if you do, screwed if you don't situation where, what do? Not cast it and die to these Phoenixes?
Shard Volley Prowess will make the Swift Spear a 2/3, or will attempt to as this goes upstairs. Now, Spell Pierce, will be the mode on Is It Charm, countering the Shard Volley. Ingram takes 2, goes to 3, and he can't stop the Phoenixes, picks up the cards. It is Pete Ingram taking the first game here.
Yeah, that's a situation where Skarren's cards didn't line up very well, where even though he had a bunch of them, you still need a land to go with your Searing Blaze. You need to be able to cast all your spells, and cards like Shard Volley can just end up effectively trapped in your hand until the last turn. And
looking at that game, I actually like Frank Skarren's positioning here. On that last turn, if you give him 1 more land, he can pay for the Spell Pierce. He also has a Searing Blaze up, so you can't use the Shock mode on Is It Charm. With a land run for the turn, Frank's going to win that game.
Yeah, that obviously it felt very bad for Skarren to lose there, but if we're being honest, he was kind of drawing to what felt like, 20 outs, 30 outs, 40 outs almost, something to that effect.
Any 1 mana burn spell also works there.
Exactly, and the draw to this list in particular is that this deck does have a ton of 1 mana burn spells.
All right, so let's look over at some sideboards. Frank Skarren has dropped the first game, so we'll look over at his board, and I love burn sideboards just with how clean they can be. 4-4. Oh. It's not 4-4-4-3. It's not the caveman sideboard, but it's close.
Yeah, but it could be.
See, we took that 4 of, instead of 4-4-4-3, it's 4-4-2-2-3. It's close. All right.
It's just not as clean.
Not as clean. There's 1 too many cards in there.
Exactly.
All right, 4 Collective Brutalities, 4 Smash to Smithereens, 3 Surgical Extraction. The last 2 Eidolons have been moved to the sideboard, and then he has 2 copies of Searing Blood.
Big fan of Eidolon of the Great Revel in this matchup. I already talked about it a little bit before, but seriously, we saw that game. The reason that Jessup was able to actually apply pressure to Skarren is because he cast a ton of spells to turn on his Arclight Phoenixes and start attacking.
Yeah, I mean, especially dropping one of those turn 2 on the play seems pretty excellent here. They're going to be worth 2 damage if Pete has the Lightning Axe, and if he doesn't, then who knows?
Oh, the card just runs away with the game. You know, if Ingram's next turn was planning to be a Thing in the Ice, that even sets Ingram's development back a turn, because Ingram's going to have to burn one of these spells that was going to either bring back a Phoenix, flip a Thing in the Ice, etc. And instead he's having to spend a turn and some mana on this Eidolon, or he'll die. Yeah.
And now, I do want to mention here, Surgical Extraction, though this is a graveyard, a deck that uses the graveyard, it's probably not enough of a graveyard deck to see Frank board that in.
Right, so this is one where it's really going to depend on how Skarren thinks that he's trying to win the game here. There's a not zero chance he does end up bringing it in if he thinks that he just has a better sense of more inevitability to Ingram. So if he's just trying to buy time and say, hey, if I just cast 7 burn spells, you die, exiling all of Ingram's, say, Phoenixes is a good way to make sure that Skarren just gets to resolve 7 spells.
3 opens into the 2019 season. We'll take a look at our leaderboard. And up top, we have Dominic Harvey and Tarek Patel after last weekend, now running 1 and 2. Now, those 2 players won't switch in positions because, as the runner-up of the first team open we had this year, they're actually on a team again this weekend with Omar Belden.
I'm shocked. As shocked as can be.
I mean, you have a team that's been doing as well as they have. You're going to run that one back.
Oh, yeah. What do? Do you look at something that's not broke and fix it?
Yeah. So, the one team that already has one, the team of Abe Corrigan and Ethan Gajewski, you see they're at 3-4 on our leaderboard. They both have trophies already. Luke Feeney, they're third, you see, in 13th. So, we have some strong teams in attendance. And then look at some of the players we have right now on camera. Frank Skarren sitting in 6th place right now on the SCG Tour leaderboard. We have Dan Jessup in 26th, with 26 points. He's in 12th as well.
Exactly. These are all players who have been putting up strong finishes. They're consistent. It is unsurprising to see them here. They have been on the SCG Tour for years now.
Most of these teams in attendance this weekend, we're going to see as they're moving forward, who they're teaming with, and the decks there on this weekend. Both Skarren and Jessup teammates for this weekend as well. Now, Pete Ingram's sideboard is showing some respect here for the burn deck as well. A lot of times we are seeing, well, I guess when Corkland Ironworks was around, Izzet Phoenix splashed white cards because it had to have Stony Silence. Now that that's gone, they still get a free splash out of the sideboard, and the card they've chosen is Collective Brutality.
Yeah, that card is, let's be punny. Let's do it. It is brutal.
It is brutal. It is.
You get to kill their 1-drop. Or their Eidolon, if they had one of those on 2 since you're on the draw.
Right.
You get to take a burn spell out of their hand, and then you get to undo most of their next burn spell while, nickeling and diming in some pressure.
I'm going to have my story. After that card was printed, the first Modern tournament I played, it's a local PTPQ. I played against none other than Ryan Overturf. Lost the die roll. Turn 1 played a Goblin Guide. Let's hit him to 18. Said, all right, this is nice. And then turn 2, he cast his Collector Brutality card, and he said, all right, I'm going to discard these 2 Venge Vines, kill your Goblin Guide, take your Boros Charm, and drain you for 2. I remember just thinking, like...
Are you alive? All right, hold on, let me... All right, I guess they can't say I'm poking you, because I can't believe you are not a ghost. My soul would have left my body after that.
I think my response is along the lines of, I'm playing way too fair today. I don't know why I thought this would be good enough.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
There's a reason we're in the coverage,
Matthias. Right, man, this Collector Brutality, I was like, there's supposed to be like, so how do I beat this card, ever? It's like, no.
Trick question.
You don't. Not on a deck's like...
You could crack their skull. Worth noting, Skullcrack conspicuously absent from Skarren's list.
Not even in the sideboard, huh?
No.
Frank Skarren mulliganing to 6, but he is on the play. Turn 1 hits in with the Goblin Guide, does not give away a free card. That top card is Sleight of Hand.
off of Blackleaf Cliffs too. That pain-free mana.
I would say I'm looking forward, despite that story I said. This makes me want to sleeve up Burn again. The fact that Frank can be on the mulligan to 6 on the play, cards like Light Up the Stage make that feel better, I think, than it has in the past with Burn.
Right, and another nice thing about this deck is with Light Up the Stage, it kind of does the work that cantrips do, where it lets you cheat on your land count a little bit, let you have a higher spell density. And in a deck like Burn, over the course of a long tournament, that small percentage point adds up in a big way.
And this is a great start for Frank. You saw turn 1 Goblin Guide. It's hit twice. He had a second Goblin Guide in hand, but doesn't even run double Goblin Guide, as he had turn 1 Guide into turn 2 Eidolon. Those guides have shown another sleight of hand on top of the deck as well, and you just think, yeah, sure, you can draw that for the turn.
Sometimes you gotta revel while everything else burns.
Yeah. That's the flavor text, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, man.
Well, but it's a reference, but it's not exactly the... you got it. You got it.
All right.
This is good. This is good. This is character building.
Ingram going to have to fetch Shock for the red source here. And it's painful. Yeah. Here, have another Lava Spike. And Bolt takes care of the Eidolon. 2 more, Ingram down to 11. But now he gets to cast that Sleight of Hand for all his trouble.
That should do it.
Yeah,
that's...
I'm sure he feels great now, you know.
He's just out here doing his best.
It's situations like this, you just really hope he doesn't drop another Eidolon.
Bleh.
And looks like there isn't, but it is another Goblin Guide. Swing of Both draws a Scalding Tarn. Thing in the ice on top. Ingram down to 7.
Everybody knows how strong Scalding Tarns are against Burn. That's to say they're not.
That's true. Most Scalding Tarn decks have trouble with Burn matchups. And Light Up the Stage for Spectacle. Rift Bolt and Eidolon.
It's a strong pair of cards, what that is.
So the top cards, and they're going to look over some rules here. Yeah, we have Eidolon of the Great Revel and Rift Bolt. Suspend's a bit of an interesting one with how it works with Spectacle. So Suspend reads, rather than cast the card from your hand, you may pay red and exile it. Now, he's not casting them from his hand. So...
we have a word for this.
Right.
It's beats.
So the beats here is he's actually not going to write... Next turn, he'll be able to cast one of these 2, but Frank's not going to get the full 2 cards off this Light Up the Stage.
You know, if we just think of this card as a cantrip that shows your opponent how dead they are to the Eidolon, I still think I like Light Up the Stage here.
Yeah, Skewer the Critic set Pete down to 4. Right, he's going to need an answer to both Goblin Guides and to not die to this Eidolon or this Rift Bolt. That's a lot to ask.
And if your first mana was spent on a cantrip, that can't feel very good.
Yeah, Faithless Looting. Well, Faithless Looting feels like you're going to be dead on board. 2 Arclights discarded isn't bad.
Those are blockers.
Okay, if you can activate them both, they can block. You're absolutely right. And here's another Faithless Looting. Draws Collective Brutality. Is that good enough? If Frank has any 1-mana burn spell and can put that Eidolon into play, that will lock out the game.
All right. Let's see.
Right? Top card. I think it's a land, which means we're still playing. It is. It's Wooded Foothills. Frank was hoping for a burn spell. That would have sealed it.
Have you... so, you've played Burn.
Yeah.
How often does this actually happen? You go, okay, I just need one burn spell and they're
this
dead,
is the worst.
and then 7 lands later, you've lost the game.
A lot.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
Oh yeah. That's the Burn player's tale. That is textbook how Burn works.
And Pete knows it now too, right? The pause has been too long, right? Frank has to decide, is it Eidolon or Rift Bolt he wants here? He's going to go for Eidolon. Teammate Shaheen Soorani looks on from the Grixis mirror. Sheen also down a game to Ben Friedman.
The only instance where the Rift Bolt is really going to be that much better, say 3 damage versus 2 damage, is going to be that much better. Since, presumably Ingram will have to take 2 to get this Eidolon off the table.
Yeah. Now, because the card is Collective Brutality, I actually wonder whether this has costed something.
So Ingram is going to have to fetch a tapped land.
Oh, he doesn't have the black source. Okay,
Right.
that changes the math.
So it does at least buy Skarren a turn here. This pause does not look good.
Oh, and he misses again. Ingram goes down to 3 into open mana. Says, yeah, show.
Oh, no.
He doesn't have it.
Not like this.
Yeah, finds the black mana source. Well, Ingram's down to 3, and the Collective Brutalities are going to be a wash, right? He'll take 2 to cast it and then gain 2. So Skarren maybe has another turn to draw that lightning bolt.
That's true. That's true.
A third Arclight Phoenix in hand for Ingram. You see Lightning Axe, Thing in the Ice, Collective Brutality.
This may actually just end up being enough for Ingram to turn the corner here. You know, you have a Lightning Axe and this Collective Brutality to get 2 things off the table.
Right.
Give yourself a bit of a buffer. It puts another Arclight Phoenix in the graveyard. So after all that, Ingram can just cast another spell, hold back 1 Arclight Phoenix, and send in the other 2.
So he'll deal 6 on the attack and 2 from the Brutality.
Right.
Frank will be at 11.
So what are
It's
the odds?
close.
Yeah, but Ingram just needs to find a bolt.
A bolt, another Brutality.
Exactly.
That seems doable. Fully escalated Collective Brutality is going to discard Arclight Phoenix and Lightning Axe. Now Pete goes down to 1 off the Eidolon trigger.
Searing Blaze. Searing Blaze.
Oh, that'd be so nice if that was in Frank's hand. Gonna get to look at Frank's hand. It is Land and Monastery Swift Spear.
I really, really like this show
Now-
of patience from Skarren.
Well, hold on. What if Frank had cast the Swift Spear and swung the team last turn?
Then we would have seen Phoenixes either just trade with a Goblin Guide, trade with an Eidolon, and then Ingram would have taken 3 and gone to 1. And
I guess
Skarren
he-
would have had no other ways to attack anymore.
I guess that's true. Ingram just wouldn't have cracked the fetch land.
Exactly.
Here's Thing in the Ice as the follow-up. Now Frank's draw for the turn is Grim Lavamancer, but that again isn't a burn spell.
Oh,
Monastery Swift Spear. Land. And he just has to say go. And can Ingram put together 17 points of damage? It's unlikely. That's high.
don't you say what Peter Ingram can and cannot do.
It's not impossible.
There is a Thing in the Ice, several cantrips in Ingram's
Right.
hand. Theoretically, if the 4th spell he casts is a Faithless Looting, he can just like pick up the Arclight Phoenixes and dump them again.
Now he's got to make a play of sorts because that Grim Lavamancer untapping is a problem. Now the top cards in Pete's deck, a Dispel and an Izzet Charm, looks like both very, well, the Dispel is very good in this situation.
So there's also the Izzet Charm as well as a fetch. With this Izzet Charm, kind of works as a Faithless Looting, and it bounces the Grim Lavamancer, so if your line is hoping that Skarren bricks 1 more turn anyway, your line could be flip this Awoken Horror during Skarren's turn? No, not during Skarren's turn, because you need the Lavamancer not to be sick. You need to leave back blockers for all 3 of the creatures, so unless Ingram were to find a bolt here, he cannot actually kill Skarren.
Now, second Serum Visions finds the Izzet Charm. His top 2 cards are both Dispel.
That's some counter magic.
It's not bad here. Pete decides he wants 1 of them.
So here we just see 1 more cantrip in hand.
Yeah, Izzet Charm shoots down the Grim Lavamancer. Arclight Phoenix out of the graveyard. Ingram will attack for 3, Skarren to 14. His next draw is going to be a Dispel. He has to dodge. Well, this draw step's the biggest one.
All right, Skarren, it's time. Do it now or do not. Like, those are your options.
I love this. Maximize the odds here. Cracks the fetch. This does mean Searing Blaze is no longer lethal, but it's probably not in the deck. This tells me Blaze isn't in the deck anymore.
Blaze just isn't very good in this matchup, right? You're only
Yeah.
killing Arclight Phoenix and maybe dealing 3 damage to a Thing in the Ice. I'm not going to say killing it, but realistically, you got to cut some of your 2 drops. If you're planning to cast everything that light up the stage flips over, you have to maximize the number of hits in your deck. Bringing in these Eidolon of the Great Revels. some of your 2s are going to have to get cut.
Looking at what cards don't win here. I suppose Goblin Guide, Monastery, Swift Spear, and Grim Lavamancer don't. Top card, and it's on land. He hasn't shown it. It's light up the stage.
Gosh.
Okay. Exile the top 2 cards.
That's 2 hits and a 1-mana.
Oh, man.
Bolt.
Top card is Surgical Extraction. That's not going to play. Other one is another light up the stage. Oh, no. Oh, Frank. Oh, no. He doesn't have it.
Gosh.
And this is going to get worse. Ingram's top card is a Dispel. Now, that we're not sure yet that Frank's not going to get another turn, right? He can, if he can untap, he can light up the stage into a sorcery and then cast like a sorcery for the win.
So
just Lava Spike, Bump in the Night.
Turn, Ingram is going to have a total of 4 lands? Okay.
Right.
If he has this Faithless Looting in Graveyard and can cast 3 spells.
Well, hold on. Surgical Extraction plus black mana available for Skarren.
Dispel available for Ingram.
That's fair enough. Yeah. So what he needs to do is flashback. Let's talk through. If he can transform Thing in the Ice, pick up everything, flashback or cast a Faithless Looting, put these Arclight Phoenix into the graveyard, and somehow get them back, that's exactly 13. That's lethal.
Exactly.
It's hard because he needs that extra mana for Dispel because of the Surgical Extraction. And it looks like rather than go for that play, he's going to try to lay it up in 2 turns. Swings 2 Arclight Phoenix and hopes that this Dispel in his hand is good enough to dodge 1 more draw step.
So the nice thing about the Dispel is it does, well, the nice and the bad thing is, assuming Skarren has to use a good bit of mana next turn in order to cast this on the light at this stage, you're planning to dodge a spell anyway, you do get to bounce all of the 1-drops.
Right.
The bad news is it bounces all of your other blockers.
He's going to swing 1 Arclight. The issue is Ingram's hand is Land, Sleight of Hand, and Dispel, so he actually can't transform Thing in the Ice at instant speed.
Oh my.
Right, so do you want to cast Sleight of Hand?
Well, this is all presumably if Skarren goes to cast something, you can Dispel.
Right. A swing here for 6 is what Ingram decides on. Skarren will take 6, goes to 7.
You can just take
This is
one
so
of the
neat.
damage from one of these attackers.
Right.
One of them. Exactly one.
Exactly 1. Post-combat, is Pete going to make a play? Makes land 5. I'm not sure that he wants to remove this last counter. Remember, those ice counters are not optional. Skarren thinking about using that Surgical Extraction. It will remain in exile by the end of his next turn if he doesn't. So,
You might
gonna
as
fire it
well.
off.
You do this, or maybe you pay 2
Yeah.
life for it later, which isn't great.
No way that Pete dispels this, right?
There is maybe a way, but it's a pretty unlikely way.
I love this. Frank went for Is It Charm.
It's the most versatile card. It kills an attacker
I
or
love-
counters a spell.
I love that it's surgicaling it. It's a card that is a one of in almost every Is It list. But
You gotta be sure.
yeah, you got it right.
You're just covering bases.
It is the card that if Pete were to be playing a second one, is the card you can't beat.
Yep.
So hands are face up. Frank looking to draw. It has to be now a sorcery.
In before Rift Bolt.
Yeah. So what are we looking at? Rift Bolt, Lava Spike, Bump in the Night? Top
We're looking
card
at
for
a
Frank.
drum roll.
Bump in the Night. That's going to do
In a
it.
night.
That's going to do it. Frank Skarren hits it, the 1 mana burn spell. It's a sorcery, and we're headed to game number 3.
This is a good game. This is a good game.
This is... So they are going to shuffle up for a third one. Give some updates on the other board. On the Legacy match, Shaheen and Soorani and Ben Friedman now in game 3 of a Grixis Control Mirror. On the Standard match, this is a nice one. Dan, the Jessup brothers are on game number 2, but that scoreboard's correct.
All right, explain.
We had Dueling Teferis on the Esper side, and with no player being able to win, they decided to draw the game.
Normal things.
Yeah, I really hope that's what Standard's about. If that is just,
Why would you hope that?
I really like playing Magic.
Okay, yeah, I can buy that.
Time in between rounds is time that I'm not playing Magic, and that's just a letdown. I feel like I'm not getting my full tournament experience.
These kinds of conversations always frighten me, Matthias, because on one hand, I'm like, wow, that's what I would like to grow up to be. On the other hand, yikes, is that what I'm going to grow up to be?
Look, sometimes you just gotta just make the game keep going. We're having fun.
Listen to your Golden Glow Moth.
Yeah. You just...
I know you.
See, whoever likes Magic more, whoever wants to play more Magic, that's what the game needs to be about.
So are you like a Lantern Control guy?
I do like Lantern Control.
Of course you do.
That is a nice deck. Recently I've been playing some Standard games, just some blue-white control with Dovin's Acuity, and then just no way to win.
Oh.
It's Dovin's Acuities.
Don't you deck yourself?
And then you play a Clear the Mind. And then you just play removal.
One Clear the Mind?
Like 2.
Okay, alright, I'm in.
Well, you have to Clear the Mind them, and then you do it to yourself.
Alright, ship the list. I'm in for it.
And a quick start for game 3 here. Ingram versus Skarren. Pete on the play. And both players on 7. Swift Spear will start things off for Skarren. Ingram down to 19.
The turn 1 Swift Spear, the T Swift Spear, the Taylor Swift Spear.
Turn 2. Manamorphose here for Ingram.
Fair things are afoot.
And there's Thing in the Ice. Blocker ready.
That is the single fairest Manamorphose I've seen in my
just
entire life.
just to cycle through it, find a 2-drop. See, that's what they envisioned when they printed the card, is that it would just do that.
Oh, yeah.
That seemed reasonable, right?
Like, why would a goblin greedily chomping on mana not be fair?
Some respect here for Searing Blaze. Monster swings in. Ingram going to take the damage, go to 18.
That Thing in the Ice is also just worth more than a lightning bolt.
Yeah. If Frank has the bolt, he would trade it. Do we see an Eidolon, though? That is going to be the card he's hoping to dodge. An update here. Andrew Jessup win game 1, or should I say game 2.
Ayo.
You know Magic's in a good spot when they go to game 4.
Do you? Who knows that? Don't
there's
say
2
I
things.
know that.
I either like it when they go to game 4 or when game 1 finishes in extra turns.
Oh my gosh. Game 1 in extra turns just feels just. Right? You just look at both players and you go, y'all are going to keep us here all night.
I always like it so when you have those kind of games, right, these blue-white mirrors, there's this nice thing where at some point you and your opponent start to realize that you're playing best of 1.
Oh, yeah. Both of you just start to hyperventilate. Oh, God. All right, yeah.
Oh, I'm enjoying it. Well, the best part is because you don't realize at the same time, but when you look at them and there's this moment where you and your opponent both realize it's best of 1, and then one of the two of you
is very okay with it.
One of you, there's this moment of doubt where you think, you realize that you're playing best of 1, and then you think, did I just screw up really bad? Am I supposed to be scooping right now?
Yep.
Or am I locking this in? Turn 3 here. Lightning X takes care of Eidolon. 2 damage, sends Ingram down to 16. First match complete. Frank's teammate Shaheen Soorani, 2-1, a winner in the Grixis mirror. We see Manamorphose and Thought Scour.
That's actually a very good Thought Scour.
That's a very good Thought Scour. Arclight Phoenix swings in for 3. Both players now to 16. This is one of those situations where it looks like burn is not fast enough.
No, we see kind of a slow start from Skarren, and everything just kind of going right for Ingram. It's not every day your Thought Scour flips over a flashback spell and a flashback creature.
Shaheen Soorani now joining in on this match, talking to Skarren about how to stay in this game. got about 2 turns, I would think, to put together 16 points of burn.
That's about correct, right? So even hypothetical scenario in which Ingram is able to flip this thing in the ice and put this Phoenix back on the table somehow, that's still only 10 points and will require 2 lightning bolts in order to close the game. So Skarren gets this turn's worth of mana and the following turn's worth of mana to deal 16.
So we'll start with Lava Spike, Ingram to 13. That is 1 prowess trigger. Let's go for Skewer the Critics both to the thing in the ice and a swing in for 4.
That's a lot more on tap steps.
That's a lot more on tap steps. That's a lot of respect for the card.
It's also a big Swift Spear.
All right, so Swift springs in, Ingram down to 9. Now, I want to talk about that play for a second. If those go upstairs, Ingram is at 3 this turn. But Frank's saying, no, that's really not what this is about.
Right, so here, there's kind of a point where Skarren would have preferred to send 6 up to Ingram's dome and just send attack for 4 with Swift Spear, but that's giving Ingram a choice to say, all right, do I want to keep this thing in the ice or have the chance to kill you next turn? And you don't want to give your opponent those kinds of decisions at this level of play.
If Ingram chooses the block, he's at 7 on the same board. I guess that's better, but you're giving your opponent 2 life to take away their choice.
Exactly.
And that makes sense.
And 9 and 7 are very similar when you're dealing multiples of 3 damage.
Down to 8 goes Ingram for Crackling Drake. Deciding if he wants to keep pressure on with this Arclight Phoenix. See him talking over there to teammate Ben Friedman. Right now, Arclight Phoenix looks like it's a 5-power creature.
Yeah, the big decision is if you want to attack with the Arclight Phoenix or block and just have this Arclight Phoenix be something that probably forces them to commit spells to keep their Swift Spear around.
Yeah.
Because this Crackling Drake is going to kill much faster. It's probably a 2-turn clock if Ingram just plays 2 spells next turn.
If it's 2-turn clock, regardless of this attack, then it's pretty free to leave back the Arclight Phoenix as a blocker.
Exactly.
Back to Skarren we go. Remember, if Skarren can pick up the win, that will seal up the round. They can end the marathon match over on the standard table. No one wants to see that happen, though.
Wait, which one do people not want to see happen?
I think the people want to see more Magic.
Yeah, that's probably true. Probably.
This Esper matchup, the Jessup's game here, that's gonna go to time.
I'm pretty sure that's just Shuffling Simulator 2019. The newest hit Steam game, Road to Evo.
It's the game where you both shuffle a stack of cards, and then you both, one by one, draw the cards. And then when you're out, you do it again.
It's a spectator sport, Matthias.
Shard Volley, Lightning Bolt. Ingram down to 2, and a pass. Okay, no cards in hand for Skarren.
Well.
And this is really interesting. So, yeah, the way Frank played that previous turn, he had Lethal Burn, but decided he didn't want to risk it.
Well, it's possible he just top-decked one of those spells.
That's true. That's true.
Playing the land here also just, 1, telegraphs that there are no Searing Blazes left, and 2, says that he's playing to just ripping light up the stage here.
All right, here we have Serum Visions for the top 2 for Ingram. I actually really like that. When your deck plays, that's one of those things where your play patterns in Burn actually have to change. Normally holding a land was the way you wanted to play Burn, but now that you have draw spells, playing out your lands is rewarded as well.
Exactly. You want to make sure, say you rip a light up the stage, and then the light up the stage hits land bump in the night, that you can play all of those cards next turn.
Right. Thought Scour for Ingram, mills over a Arclight Phoenix. That's 2 spells for the turn. He has a Faithless Looting. This is going to be number 3.
There's a chance Skarren just dies here.
You're right. So we see that looting and finding Lightning Bolt. I think that's going to be it. Will count here, but yeah, you see Ingram pick up the pace. He sees it too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and saying, yeah, you got to discard another spell there. 6. It looks like 7, 8 spells in the graveyard for Ingram. So it's an 8-power Crackling Drake. The Lightning Bolt would be the 9th spell. Yeah, this is more than lethal.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to make sure they're very dead. All right, here's that marathon match you wanted, Matthias.
Yeah,
Are you ready?
Bolt down to 12. This swing, yeah, that Crackling Drake is at least 6. And Pete, Ingram takes the win here with, is it Phoenix? 2 games to 1. And now we just settle in. You know, get comfy. Gonna get some lands in play. And then some more lands in play.
And then, you know what comes after that? Some
Doesn't
more
matter. I don't
lands.
know. Yeah, you know, maybe some spells.
Some more lands. The only spells that are coming onto the table are going to be Teferis.
Azcanta.
And then
It's a land.
that's a land.
But it's also, yeah.
It's a land.
It's a nice land.
It could be anything. It could be a land or a land. It's great.
It can't find more lands.
It's
but, you
nice. You can. All right. So there's this motion where you Teferi.
Yeah.
-3 target itself. Pick up the top 2 cards of your deck if you have that many, and then put Teferi under them. Put your own Teferi back.
That's some good gameplay.
And then you and your brother get to sit there and say, neither of us can win this. I'm glad we spent a half an hour deciding.
Now, both players actually in the sideboarded games do board in some creatures here. I was going to confirm, yeah, they are on the same list. Thief of Sanity. One of the things that I'm really liking right now in Control and Standard, it's kind of thing where you take a really good deck and then you board in attacking from a different angle. And Thief of Sanity is very strong here.
Right, so this is the type of situation where normally in your control mirrors you have all of this removal that doesn't really do anything. You have things like Cast Down or Moment of Craving that you are very happy. You're reaching forward and say, all right, let's turn these into negates, turn these into duress. And then your opponent plays a Thief of Sanity and your stomach drops. And you just go,
yeah.
Well, I guess I've died.
Yeah, they both know it's here, so do they keep in some amount of Moment of Craving? It's possible.
Yeah, the thing that you're most likely going to be seeing is just Cast Down in case one of them is going, all right, we might not have enough time to finish all the games I want to finish, so like, let's just bring in as much power as I want, which is a strategy you'll see in some control mirrors where people just go Thief of Sanity and then Hostage Taker with no target because I just want to deal damage.
All right, let's head down to the Jessup's match here. This is in game number 3 in Esper Control Mirror. This is nice. Look at all these lands. This is beautiful.
This is, to be fair, Jessup has one land that is stronger than all of Jessup's.
I feel like checking for Field of Ruin. I don't believe either player has them. These as Kantas.
Oh, they're sticking around.
Yeah, they stick around. In these control mirrors, you do runaway as Kanta games are a thing. Absorb the find here from Andrew. Now, because he's up a game, all Andrew has to do is avoid losing.
And there's not that much time on the clock. Andrew doesn't even have to avoid it for a long time.
Right. It looks like on Andrew's side, we have a pair of negates and an absorb. Nice cards when you're trying to win a game that they can be a bit difficult. We'll get a look. Thought Erasure from Andrew.
We saw a Moment of Craving there in Andrew's graveyard.
Yeah.
Likely took down an earlier Thief of Sanity, that removal dynamic we were talking about before.
Thief of Sanity from Andrew, Absorb from Daniel. Counters the Thief. But that has Kanta, the most important thing going on here by a lot.
Exactly. It's something that can't really be interacted with, and it's just, it's better than a free card every turn. It's a free good card every turn.
And I want to point how Andrew prioritized that. He already had Absorb in his hand. We knew that from the Azcanta. He could have protected his Thief of Sanity with the Absorb, but he chose not to. And that's out of respect for the fact that if Dan top decks in his Kanta, Andrew wants to make sure that it's countered. And that's more important to him than anything else that's going on.
Exactly, because there's also one other answer to Azcanta, and that is just Teferi ultimating.
Yeah. And you see it again, Teferi. This is a beautiful exchange here from Andrew. He casts his own Teferi. It's negated. He does not use a counterspell to protect it, and then when Dan top decks a response to Fairy, the Absorb's ready, and the board is still clear.
Exactly. All you're doing here is whatever you can to make sure you don't die.
Right. Now Andrew reloads with Azcanta, and here's another Teferi in the top 4. He can check his opponent again on a counter spell.
That one's probably a little bit better than the Moment of Craving that was sitting there.
And it looks like Cast Down. That's going to be exiled for Chemister's Insight. And Dan Jessup's just going to extend the hand there. Big hug there from teammate Ben Friedman. Friedman, Ingram, and Jessup with the win. I do want to look at the sideboard here on Andrew Jessup's side. We saw him discard a Cast Down to jumpstart Chemister's Insight. We saw a Moment of Craving in the graveyard, a second Moment of Craving in that as Kanta activation. He's paying a ton of respect to Thief of Sanity.
Exactly. It's a card that the first few weeks that people started playing it, it was a little bit of a secret. But other than that, like, it's not a secret anymore. You know it's coming, so you're going to have a plan and you're going to have respect because the card will just kill you.
Right. I mean, we talk about Runaway as Kanta games, Runaway Thief of